It is time for an updated version of our 2024 NHL mock draft. This time we're going to do the entire first round. I've also made some adjustments and some different picks along the way based on intel and my own opinion for some of the spots we've previously discussed. So today we're getting 1 through 32, and that's coming up next. So welcome back to another video here at Top Shelf Hockey. As I mentioned, today we're doing a mock draft for the entire first round of the 2024 NHL draft, which is just under a week away as we get ready to kind of anticipate what's actually going to happen. Now, of course, I've done a few of these, and each time we've done them, we've kind of gone a little bit deeper into the draft, a little bit further. We've gone as far as 30 before. Today we're going to 32. Once the Stanley Cup Final is done after Monday night, before the actual NHL draft coming up next weekend. I intend to probably do one more of these, go deeper. I'm probably going to do top 50 or something like that. We'll see. But some of the selections I've made is based on my own opinion. Some of it I've kind of researched a lot of the, I've kind of compiled basically a lot of data based on what all the so-called experts are saying, and then take a look at what prospects are ranked and how they're going to fit with these teams, and what, if I were the GM, what I would do. So we'll hop on to the computer. We'll go through our top 32 selections of this 2024 NHL mock draft. Selecting first overall, we have the San Jose Sharks, and of course there's no debate here. Macklin Celebrini's the pick. He's got the connections to the area. By far the best prospect in this draft. Solid two-way player. Franchise changer for sure for the San Jose Sharks. He's going to be a really good 200-foot player. He does have a little bit of Sidney Crosby in him as far as how he plays. I don't know that he'll be as good as Crosby. Time will tell. Maybe more of a Jonathan Toews type. But either way, to me, I kind of describe him as Jonathan Toews with a little more offensive upside. He is going to be a absolute franchise centerman. That much we can say for sure. I don't know if we'll go as far as saying generational. That sometimes gets thrown around a little bit too much. But Celebrini is going to be a terrific player in the NHL, and there's no doubt he's going first overall, and that won't surprise anybody here. Next up, at number 2, we have the Chicago Blackhawks, and all of our indications point to the fact of them taking Artem Levshunov as the big right shot defenseman. Will be their pick at number 2 here. At least that's the belief. According to my research, from what I've seen, that's what most experts seem to think, that they're leaning towards Levshunov. I mean, there's some that think they would consider Demidov or Lidstrom as well. But I think at the end of the day, they're going to build their blue line here. The big dynamic defenseman from Michigan State will be real intriguing. A lot of people think he has the ability to be a real star player in the NHL and will be an absolute stud top defender here. So to me, the Blackhawks likely do take the defenseman. They could surprise us, though. There won't be any doubt about that. So we'll see what happens, but Levshunov is the pick right now. At number 3 overall, we have the Anaheim Ducks, and I have them selecting Ivan Demidov. Now, there's a real good chance they will take a defenseman, but Demidov had a real good showing at the Gold Star event down in Florida recently. He measured bigger and stronger than a lot of people had him to be. He has spoke real good English. Made mention he wants to come to the NHL probably within a year. Like it just not only skill wise, but like everything else just kind of lined up and checked a lot of boxes. And I think relieved a lot of teams of them from some of their concerns. So to me, as much as the Ducks already have a lot of good young defenders, the idea of Demidov joining that forward group that they've already started to build upon with Carlson, McTavish, and Zegras and Terry and all these guys, to me, he's too tempting to pass up at this point. Coming up next, at 4th overall, we have the Columbus Blue Jackets, and the belief here is that they're going to go with the big centerman, Caden Lindstrom. Now, I know for a while it was looking like Lindstrom was going to probably go to the Habs, but the belief is now that Columbus is really intrigued by the idea of having him as well as Adam Fantilli be their top 2 centermen to build upon that franchise. It is possible they do go with a guy like Siliever, like the big defenseman, but Lidstrom's back problem appears to be something he thinks is dealt with and in the past and won't be an issue moving forward. Strong, power forward type centerman who can score some goals. Real intriguing. Should be a top 5 pick, and the belief is Columbus will make that selection here. At 5 overall, we have the Montreal Canadiens, and with all the other forwards gone, I think they're going to go and take Tisha Ginla. To be honest, I think they have so many defensemen, they prefer to have a a strong forward here, and you can make an argument for any of these guys to be best available at this selection. So, assuming that Demidov and Lidstrom are both off the board, I really think the Habs go here with Iginla, who's going to be a real solid goal-scoring winger. It would be a terrific addition to what they're building in the forward group there in Montreal. I personally think Iginla has a real shot to go top five, and if he's available, between him, Lidstrom, and Demidov, the Habs are definitely going to take one of those, would be my prediction. So based on how I have this working out, Iginla's the one that's on the board, so I think the Habs make the move. Next up here, we have at number 6, the Utah Hockey Club, and I have them taking the big, rangy defenseman from Russia, Anton Silyev. They obviously like big, tall, rangy defensemen. They've got a few of them in their prospect pool, and Silyev could be the best of the bunch. Obviously with a huge wingspan, huge reach, great skater for his size at 6'7". This guy's going to be an absolute monster. No indication exactly how long he'll be to get to the NHL. I think he might still need some time, probably looking at a year or two. But to be honest, for what they're building there, I think they have the time to wait. They do have a lot of good young forwards already in their system. So to me, I think Silyev makes a ton of sense for Utah about this pick. Next up, at number 7, we have the Ottawa Senators, and I've gone a different direction here and have them selecting from the University of Denver, Zeev Bulyum. Now, some people might, especially Sens fans, might think, oh, they're never going to take him. They're going to go with Parekh or a right shot D. But you know what? Zeev Bulyum, to me, watching his clips, watching him and reading what the experts have to say about him, I honestly think that Zeev Bulyum is going to be a lot like Scott Niedermayer. For those of you that are old enough to know who Niedermayer is, I think he would be a terrific addition to any blue line, regardless of which way he shoots. I can see him playing either side of the ice as well. He can be versatile and strong enough to do that and just completely control the game. Some comparisons to Jake Sanderson, not exactly, but there are some similarities. And if the Sens already, who have Sanderson, could be blessed with Bulyum on their blue line, I just think that would be maybe a safer pick to be a long-time star in the NHL compared to some of the other defensemen here. At number 8 overall, we have the Seattle Kraken. I have them taking another solid defenseman here, Zane Parekh, right shot D out of Saginaw, 90-point campaign. He has the potential to be a real offensive star from the back end as well. And it is possible that if he's available on the board, I wouldn't be shocked if the Sens do take him with this other pick. I just think Bulyum might be the more well-rounded defenseman who can give you similar, maybe not quite as much offense, but a lot more when it comes to the better decision making and the defensive play. But Parekh has the potential to be a real dynamo type defenseman. So for Seattle, who's needing offense and needing that long term D man to be their stud back there to provide the offense to help the forwards, I think he's a terrific fit there. At number 9, we have the Calgary Flames, and I have them taking another defenseman. The run continues here with Sam Dickinson of the London Knights. I think Dickinson will be great for the Flames. I think this will probably be where the run on D-men stops, and we'll see a few more forwards picked after this. But Dickinson has got the size. He's at 6'3". He's got the reach, the smarts. He's going to be a really good top 4 defenseman. I think he's going to be a pretty complete defenseman as well. Going to give you a decent amount of offense, great skater, but also be solid in his own end once he matures a bit too. So to me, Calgary, as much as they'd like to have a Ginla, unless they can move up on the draft, I don't know if they're going to be able to get him. But Dickinson to me is a pretty good consolation prize. At number 10 overall, we have the New Jersey Devils, and I have them taking Finnish forward Konsa Helenius. I think Helenius would be a great addition to their forward group. Could be a real solid middle six two-way player for them. I think Helenius brings you a good mix that something that they don't already have within that forward group, to be completely honest. He's a quality centerman, can get up and down the lineup, and I think he'll be a good pick here. Now, depending on what New Jersey does, they may not even have this pick, and I wouldn't be shocked too if they took a defenseman, but they've had a lot of D-men drafted lately. I think they've got some good young forwards too, mind you, but I think if they hold this pick, that this is the kind of player that they don't already have in their system that just makes a ton of sense for them. Next up at 11, we've got the Buffalo Sabres. I have them selecting from Spokane of the Western Hockey League, Berkeley Catton. Berkeley Catton is a little bit of a smaller player, but a really solid offensive player. One of the better offensive minds in this game, in this draft, with a really solid hockey IQ, solid playmaker, put up a ton of points. To me, he's a power play specialist. I think that can be in the NHL at the very least. Obviously, kind of draw some similarities. I can see him being a similar to like Zach Benson last year, but Cat to me would be a great player, and to me would be the best available at this pick for the Buffalo Sabres, who already have a lot on their blue line as well. At 12, we have the Philadelphia Flyers. I have them selecting Beckett Seneca from the Oshawa Generals of the OHL. Beckett's a player to me that is, some have him going into the top 5, 6, 7 spots. I don't think he's going to go that high. I really like this player. My one concern is a lot of his high end skill. You see a lot of his highlights show him making and creating off the rush, and that's great. He looks like a terrific player, strong motor, hard worker, lots to like here. Don't get me wrong, but my one concern over him is that will that offense translate to the NHL when is he going to be able to, come in off the rush and dangle and do all this, use all those skills when the defensemen are way bigger, way stronger, and way more capable, stronger defensive forwards. So I'm not saying I think the odds of him making it and being a good player in the NHL are really good. I just have a little bit of concern that some might be overvaluing here. I think he's going to be more, around this level, maybe around the mid first part of the first round here. Next up at 13th overall, we have the Minnesota Wild, and I have them taking right shot defenseman from the Calgary Hitmen of the Western Hockey League, Carter Yakimchuk. Scored 30 goals this year. He's got size and strength. He's over 6'3", so certainly lots to like there. Like I said, a right shot D, which is tricky to find. Yakimchuk to me checks a lot of boxes and should be a terrific fit here for Minnesota. I wouldn't be completely shocked if he goes a little bit higher, to be honest. I think some guys like I think Bouillon or Parak are going to get a little bit more attention. Same with Dickinson, but to me, like if they're gone and you're picking and you want a top D out of this draft, he's a pretty good pick still. Like I said, he can drive the offense, he can score. He's got the size and strength to be able to defend at the NHL level. I can see him being a pretty complete top 4D once his maturity level certainly peaks. Next up at 14, we've got the San Jose Sharks. And I have them taking the most violent defender in this draft under Norway, Stan Solberg. This is their second first round pick. They have a chance to not only grab a centerman that can be a franchise player, but in Solberg, they can get somebody who can really be a solid top four defender who can just absolutely, like I said, be violent and create a little bit of intimidation and just be a real force on the back end. I don't know that there's a lot of teams that would take him at this pick, but where they have multiple first rounders, I think it's perfect for the Sharks. If a team only has one pick and they're picking 14, 15, 16, they might want somebody with a little more high end skill. But Solberg, to me, makes a ton of sense for the San Jose Sharks. At 15, we have the Detroit Red Wings. I have them selecting Michael Hage of the USHL, Canadian-born player playing in the U.S. His name has been getting a lot of attention. He's been a bit of a riser here lately after having a really solid showing at the NHL Draft Combine. You combine his skating and skill level, and it just looks like he's going to be a real solid top 20 pick in this draft. As much as he had a really terrific season last year and really took some big steps forward with his development, he was also dealing with a lot personally with a major loss in his life. So certainly, I believe he was like the personal stuff could have been a major distraction, and he was able to focus and just it shows you the level of maturity and how much he wants. A real hard worker. I think he'll be an excellent find here in the middle part of the first round. Next up at 16, we've got the St. Louis Blues, and I have them taking a real solid top four defenseman here at Adam Jiricek. Jiricek had a major knee injury this year and missed a lot of time. But in all honesty, he's a 6'3" right shot defenseman that projects to be a pretty solid 200 foot, like at each end of the ice, top four guy. Obviously, his brother, David Jiricek, also a real solid defenseman in his own right. But considering how he skates, how he moves the pucks, I think he'd be a real terrific addition for the Blues, who are really looking to revamp their blue line and slowly move out some of these veteran guys that they've been trying to do over the last couple of years. As they do that continuously in the next year or two, they'll make room for Jiricek, and he can easily step in and have an impact on their team in a year or two time. Next up at 17, we've got the Washington Capitals, and I have them selecting Russian-born player Igor Chernyshov. Now, Chernyshov is a player here. I think is a terrific fit for the Capitals. Clearly somebody who would have lots of familiarity with lots of Russian teammates. They've had a lot of success taking players, obviously out of Russia for sure. So, it's a huge difference when you coming over, you come into North America from a foreign place like that, and you have teammates that speak your language and that you can have stuff in common with. It makes a real big difference to have them to get them acclimated and everything to the league. So to me, good pick that way. But certainly he's a guy he's a big guy. He skates well and has a decent amount of skill. So to me, I think he could be a good addition for the Capitals. That they could hopefully he could be a potential top 6 or top 9 forward for them here in their organization. At 18th overall, we have the second first round pick of the Blackhawks, and I have them selecting Jet Lushenko from the Guelph Storm of the Ontario Hockey League. I think Lushenko here pretty likely. I think he'll definitely be a top 20 pick. Obviously, for the Blackhawks, like I said, they've taken Lushonov, your number 2 overall selection. They've got a big right shot defenseman. Now they can add to their forward group in the center depth here with a real solid pick like Lushenko. To me, he's a player who's risen in the draft. He's had a real solid campaign. And I can see him being a real good pick. Like another one for Chicago, if he's still available, I can see Michael Hage being a terrific pick for Chicago as well. Lushenko, though, just makes a ton of sense based on who's available and based on what their organizational need is at this point. Next up at 19th overall, we have the Vegas Golden Knights, and I have them selecting Michael Brandsegg-Nygaard. I have him here as a good selection for the Vegas Golden Knights. Certainly somebody who's got a bit of size and bite to their game. Obviously, somebody that's a pretty complete player. Many say that he's one of the most, well-rounded, closer to being NHL-ready prospects in this first round. Vegas is obviously a team that's doesn't keep a lot of their prospects and hasn't worked too many of them into their lineup. But as they run into cap issues, he could be a player that steps in, I think, sooner than later, or he could be a terrific trade asset as they continue to take that approach. Either way, to me, he's a pretty complete player and would be a great pick for them at this spot. At 20th overall, we have the New York Islanders, and I have them taking American-born forward Cole Yzerman, who will be a left winger here. Yzerman is a player whose stock has risen and fallen a lot over the course of the year. He is arguably probably one of the better shooters, if not the best shooter, and maybe the best natural goal scorer in this draft class. Yzerman to me is a player who I think has had real high expectations. He was a solid top 5, top 10 pick for the longest time. Then he dropped down, and then he's kind of his a lot of opinions have changed here yet again, kind of putting his stock back up a little bit after we've seen the NHL draft combine and everything. So to be honest, I think he's a player that goes somewhere. If maybe the Islanders can't get him, maybe he's already gone. But to me, they're a team that needs younger goal scorers, and he could be a terrific fit in that forward group. Next up, the Los Angeles Kings here at 21st overall. I have them selecting Liam Greentree. Greentree will be a pick somewhere in this range. Obviously, the right winger plays for Windsor. His team had a tough season this year, but certainly a player who was very well liked amongst the prospect community here. A lot of the experts have him being a real hard worker who could go, somewhere around that middle of the first round, but he's got a lot of skill. Obviously, we know in the case of the LA Kings, they're moving a player like Arthur Kalia, for example. There's bound to be a little bit of a space for him to maybe jump in and possibly be somebody who gets to the NHL level. Like if he slips down another spot or two, I could also see him a great choice here for Toronto. Next up, we have the Nashville Predators at number 22 overall, and I have them selecting U.S.-born player Trevor Connolly, left winger from U.S. playing USHL. Connolly's a player who is highly skilled, but has had multiple concerns of off-ice issues, so his stock has dropped a bit. And one of these teams, and then I think somewhere's in that 15 to 25 range, are going to decide they can take a chance because the skill level is worth taking the chance on, and that the maturity will come and everything will be okay. Nashville's an organization who I think have they've rolled the dice before and some risky players, like the guy who's nicknamed Happy, Zach Lura. And to me, I think they could do the same thing here. I think they have the organizational strength within their player development team and everything that they could really work with Connolly and help him It could be a good environment for him to foster the maturity and everything he needs to become a solid NHL player. So I can see the Predators being a team that takes that chance if he's available for their selection. Next up, we have the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I have them selecting Cole Baudouin. Now, Baudouin is a center here from Barrie, the Barrie Colts of the Ontario Hockey League. He's another bit of a high riser. Had a real solid U18 tournament for Canada. Had a real good showing at the NHL Draft Combine as well. Obviously, it's something that he's not necessarily a player that's going to like wow you. He's not like I don't know how to describe him here. He's not a player that's gonna like make highlight reel plays all the time, but he's just a guy that's good at a lot of the little things. Somebody who can play hard at both ends of the ice and just really give you the effort, and same time has certain NHL skill. To me, he's a good option here for the Leafs. Obviously, somebody. You see John Tavares maybe move on in the next year or so, and some of their other prospects could be a real solid middle six center for them here in a couple years' time. Next up at 24th overall, we have the Colorado Avalanche, and I have them taking centerman Sasha Boisvert, centerman playing in the USHL for Muskegon. Obviously, this is a player who I think would be a real good fit for the Avalanche, who are certainly looking to add some youth to their center depth here in their organization. He's a player who's got good size. He can skate, make plays. Expected to go somewhere in that mid, like there's a lot of these guys that go anywhere from 15 to 25. It's kind of a little bit challenging to figure out exactly where they're going to go. But you get size, scoring, and playmaking ability down the middle, something that the Avalanche here would covet and would really like this player. Next up, we have the Ottawa Senators with their second first-round pick. It used to be the Bruins pick, and I am selecting Ryder Ritchie from the Western Hockey League's Prince Albert Raiders. I mean, to me, he's a guy that makes a lot of sense for Ottawa. They've already grabbed themselves a top defenseman with their first pick. This time they add to their wing depth. Obviously, they have pretty good center depth in the organization already. Ritchie's a guy who shows a lot of confidence with his puck skills. Decent sized player. He's got a good release. His shot probably is his strongest attribute. But obviously, not only is a good shot, but he seems to be a really, really smart, good playmaking winger. And to be honest, I think he could complement their group of forwards, and on the wing, they're pretty solid. They have some spots, I think, that could be open in the next year or two. Obviously, Claude Giroux's not getting any younger, and they still have that wing depth could be a bit deeper. So to me, Ritchie makes a lot of sense and could have a good path to the NHL in the not too distant future. Next up, we have the Montreal Canadiens, and I have them taking a huge centerman here in Dean Letourneau. Montreal would love to have more size down the middle and could be in for a real solid pick here. Obviously, the Ontario born player playing at prep school here in Ontario. Letourneau could be a bit of a project. I mean, he's obviously a really big guy, and his skating is okay, but it's not fantastic. Like you get a 6'7" guy like an Anton Silyev, who's an awesome skater, whereas Letourneau's skating is going to need some work, but he's got good offensive tools. Some wonder if he might be like the next Tage Thompson. I mean, look how long it took Tage to really find his game at the NHL level. This might be with a team that has multiple first round picks that could possibly get themselves a huge monster centerman that has the potential to be like Tage Thompson if he can get a few things in order. A little bit of a project, but lots of upside if it works out, and the Habs are a perfect team to take that chance on him. Next up, we have the Carolina Hurricanes. The Hurricanes 27th overall. I have them selecting Julius Mietinen. Now, to me, he's another player here that makes a lot of sense for the Hurricanes. Obviously, this Finnish-born forward's been playing in Canada in junior here, playing in the Western Hockey League for the Everett Silvertips. He's got pretty good size, 6'3", pretty good weight, 200 pounds. So the size and strength are there. He's considered positionally sound, not afraid to play a physical style of game, and certainly somebody who's pretty solid two-way player. So to me, he just screams Hurricanes. When I look at this player and how he's built, he's got the size, strength, and two-way play. Would be a terrific fit in Rod Brindamore's system. At 28th overall, next we have the Calgary Flames. I have them selecting right winger Tarek Periskak from the Western Hockey League's Prince George Cougars. He's a player with a ton of natural skill, lots of offense as well in his game. Some concerns over his size and his frame. But, if you take a look at some of these teams that have taken players late in the first round, I think it's a time, like a team like Calgary, where you can take a chance. They have multiple picks, assuming they don't trade them and they end up making these selections. To me, Periskak is a guy who's got a lot of goal scoring ability, who could be a good, chance late in this first round. Some teams may not want this type of player, but I think there's lots to like and certainly lots of upside if things work out for him. But he could be a real good player here for Calgary down the road as they go through their rebuild. Next up at 29, we have the Dallas Stars, and I have them selecting American-born defenseman E.J. Emery. Emery has a player who's pretty much all defense. You're not going to get a lot of offense out of this player, but he's certainly a player that can be very, very reliable, play in all situations, and be a good complement defenseman for somebody who's very much offensively gifted. Obviously, Emery will likely, he might go a little higher than this, but I think he's going to be a late first round pick just based on the fact of the type of player he is. But he would certainly fit a lot of these teams that certainly have, some good defensemen that he can work with and be paired with, especially a team like Dallas who has a decent amount of veterans that he might be able to integrate with once he's ready to make the jump to the NHL. But I can see some of these last 5 to 7 picks in this first round is likely we're going to see Emery selected. Your next selection at number 30 belongs to the New York Rangers, and I have them selecting forward Andrew Basha. Basha, to me, would make a great pick here late in the first round. Pretty good speed, good acceleration. Obviously, somebody who's able to play a lot off the rush, high-end vision, and a really smart player. Also allows him to be a pretty elite playmaker. So for me, he's a guy who might need, obviously some time to be ready for the NHL. A lot of these late first-round picks will be. But for a team like New York or any of these teams picking late, this is just a real smart, intelligent, good playmaking forward who can skate well and be a solid off the rush guy. So to me, he's a good fit with any of these clubs, especially a team like New York. At 31st, we're going to Florida Panthers. That might not be the case. It could be Edmonton, but we're just going to go with an assumption here. And they're going to have Cole Hudson be the pick at 31. Either of these teams getting Cole Hudson would I think would be a bit of a steal. Cole Hudson's expected to be a late first rounder or second round pick. And honestly, maybe I'm higher on him than a lot of other people, but a lot of these other prospect ranking places and experts have him going later. But I think Hudson will be a dynamic defenseman. Yeah, he's a little bit smaller, but really, if you look at the Florida Panthers, they're a team that's going to have, I think, a fair bit of turnover on their blue line. And they're really missing, to me, that top star power play quarterback. And I think he could be that guy. He might need a little bit of time. He's probably going to still, play college hockey for a year or two. But at the same time, when he's ready to come out, he could be a real top player for them as they transition from some of the veteran guys they have on that blue line now. At 32 in the last pick of the first round, we have the Edmonton Oilers, and I have them selecting Sam O'Reilly from the London Knights. His stock has been on the rise as well after a real solid OHL playoff Memorial Cup appearance. Certainly somebody who's, he might even go a little higher than this. It's hard to say. Then again, maybe he doesn't. But O'Reilly's a guy who's got a lot of traits that the NHL teams are looking for. He's got legit offensive skills. And obviously playing with the London Knights doesn't hurt either. They have a terrific program. They really know how to develop their players, and a lot of teams really respect that. So O'Reilly, to me, makes a lot of sense around late first round or early second round. And it would be a great addition for a team like the Edmonton or Florida picking near the end of this round. So O'Reilly, to me, will conclude our picks here for the end of round 1. So those are my top 32 selections. I'd like to know what everybody thinks. Certainly let me know your thoughts on my picks. Let me know what your picks would be if they were different. Obviously, like I said, there's going to be lots of activity. There could be a lot of trades as well. I fully suspect some of these teams won't actually end up picking. They'll trade the picks. We know there's going to be activity, so it's going to be a really fun, exciting time. It's one of the highlight events of the year for NHL hockey. The draft is always a lot of fun. Not only are we getting a lot of prospects to different teams, but you get a lot of trades, a lot of activity. So let me know your thoughts on what's going to happen down in the comments. We'll discuss further. And of course, like I said, stay tuned. There'll be another updated version of this coming out within the next week before the actual draft. We'll go a little deeper again, probably do like top 50 prospects or so. So stay tuned for that. If you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe and stick around. We'll keep you up to date with all the news, rumors, and analysis of all 32 NHL teams. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you next time.